Hello, everyone. Here we are at D1 again. It is April 2nd, and we're studying the Bible together at Sunnyside. So appreciate you being here. This is just a daily routine, if you're new, that we've been into since the coronavirus hit and we can't gather together. So we're trying to do some unique things online. And so we're doing what we call a D1 study, or a daily study together. And we're going through the Gospel of John right now. And the 1 in the D1 stands for we take a look at one chapter in the Bible every day, one verse in that chapter that sticks out to us or is particularly meaningful. We have one thought about that verse that we kind of meditate on and think about, and just kind of let it roll around in our minds and in our hearts. Then we just say one prayer about that and asking God to teach us how to apply it. And then something we haven't talked a whole lot about is on the tail end of that, we suggest that you tell one person what you learned, at least one person, what you learned in that D1 study that you did, and that kind of helps you remember it, plus it blesses somebody else as well. So here we go. We're in John chapter 9 today. We did 8 yesterday. Corey did that for us, and it was a great little chapter. Lots of good stuff in there, and then chapter 9 is no different. But it is basically one story, one narrative of Jesus healing a blind man. And so if you've read that already, you probably got some good stuff out of that. I think there's just some interesting, almost humorous parts of this story. Certainly there's some sarcasm in here as well. But the thing that stuck out to me was down in verse 39, after the healing has taken place and the blind man has been quizzed by the teachers of the law who really didn't believe that Jesus was of God, and we're trying to figure out how in the world this guy got healed, because it certainly couldn't have been of God in their minds in any way. And so at the very end, when Jesus is kind of encouraging this guy, he'd been cast out of the temple and told not to come back, and was ridiculed. He was even thrown under the bus by his parents, his own parents in this story, which I think is an interesting part of the story. But when Jesus is encouraging him and kind of comforting him, he's almost commissioning him to go and live the life that he's calling him to live. And he says in verse 39, "For judgment I came into this world, that those who do not see may see, and those who see may become blind." And that just sat with me. Part of this D1 study, this one thought or this one meditation begins, I think, before you start reading. And I'll just share with you, when I start, I pray, Jesus, what do you want me to see in this passage? Jesus, what is it that you want me to get out of this? I think that's a real important part of this process that you cannot skip. So before you read, make sure you talk to Jesus and you're asking him what it is that you are to get out of this. And so I believe he answers that, and I think he'll answer it for you. And so I then begin to ask, why this verse? Why, Jesus, do you want me to hear that in particular, this whole story? And the question came to me, are you blind in some areas, Eric? Are there some things that you're not seeing yet? It's all well and good to kind of look down upon the Pharisees and those who saw Jesus do wonderful things, heal the blind, do other things, but still didn't believe, still became blind spiritually to who he was. But Eric, are there things in your life that you're missing out on because you just refuse to see? Maybe, and so the more I think about that, the more I think, well, maybe I'm not too unlike those Pharisees. Maybe there's arrogance in my life that Jesus wants to point out to me that's preventing me from seeing with my spiritual eyes and recognizing things that Jesus is doing in my life, or he wants me to see, recognize, take note of, whatever, learn from. And 3 areas came to my mind and came to my heart. One is very easy for me, and that is, do I see Jesus? Do I see him in nature? And I say easy because I'm in the habit of it. I like to be outside. I like to be in wild places, and I'm seeing God all the time in nature. Um, Circumstances, however, may be a different story. Do I see Jesus? Do I see him working in circumstances? Or am I just a fatalist? Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. Um, I think Jesus orchestrates a lot more behind the scenes than I sometimes give him credit for. And I need to have spiritual eyes, he's telling me, to recognize that and to see that. And then the last one I think that I hear Jesus telling me to pay attention to is people. It's that, do I see Jesus in people? Am I condemning, or am I seeing something that's not there? Am I glorifying a person rather than glorifying God, for instance? So I believe it's real important that I pay attention to what Jesus is telling me and teaching me every day in people. So in nature and circumstances and in people's where I think he's at least speaking to me to pay attention, especially in our current situation where we're at, where there's so many unknowables right now and everything is changing all the time. He's making himself clear. He is the one thing that's unchangeable right now in our lives for the most part, and he's still going to be there. Like I said, you're in our home office here at the Badiger House, and I want to show you around a little bit because there's something in here that that goes along with this verse. My wife's got it all decorated. It's kind of a patriotic room, the way that she's got it painted. I collect coffee mugs from all over the world, and then we've got kind of like a patriotic theme going on here. But we also have flags and some history of the flag and what it means. Got a couple paintings and pictures that we've picked up over there on that wall as well. But there's a couple flags that are very, very important to us and dear to us. And this first one here is, I think you can see that, it's given to my wife by my son, who got it when he was stationed in Iraq during the Second Gulf War. And it flew over his base where he was at in Iraq, and he was able to obtain that flag. It was flown on her birthday. I don't know if you can see that yet, probably. There we go, on the 19th of July, 2007, when he was there. And so that's a pretty special flag for her. Well, I have my own flag too, that's special to me. It's right here. And it was given to me by one of our members at Sunnyside, who was also stationed overseas in Iraq. And by the way, that's a very special momentum up there that was given to me by the Blue Angels. It's autographed by each one of them. One of our Sunnyside folks had a son who was on the team there. Wasn't a pilot, but he was on their team. And he got them to sign that for me, and I got to go see him perform, which was pretty neat. But that flag right there was flown in Iraq over a base by and given to me by one of our members. And this is what I want to point out to you, is that Tucker gave me this. And if you read that, underneath where it says Combined Joint Special Operations, it says this certifies that the accompanying American flag was flown in the face of the enemy, and then goes on to describe the camp and where they were at. I love that phrase, flown in the face of the enemy. And that describes kind of where we're at these days. We have an enemy that we're fighting against. We're in a war, folks. We're in a battle. And how it relates back to the verse, let's go all the way back there, for me, is that this is a battle for me to see Jesus. And the virus, the politics, all of that stuff, I think Satan's going to throw in our face and cloud us to prevent us from seeing with spiritual eyes the Lord Jesus and where he's working. Our soldiers, our military, they go into the face of the enemy so that we can live our lives clearly and intentionally and in freedom. And we have to be careful spiritually as well to know that we are fighting in the face of the enemy so that we can see Jesus clearly, live intentionally, and experience everything that he has for us. So that's kind of where I'm at today with John, that I don't want to be blind. I want to listen to Jesus, and I want to hear him. So I appreciate what you may have gotten something completely different out of that chapter, and I'd love for you to comment down there in the chat section, and let's just talk about this a little bit. So again, thanks for coming. God bless you. Have a great day.